to push.
Yep, we're going.
Record. Okay. Okay, Jack. The second part we're going to talk about is your personal experience with the war. So this is more about war in general and kind of what went on as you personally related to it. Who were your best friends during your time in the Army?
Well, I had a number of them. This LBB that you met, I'm sure, at Kathy's. And some of them were different. I had another one that he was from Seattle.
Travis.
His name is Travis. He just died not long ago, but he was a real good friend of mine. This Briggs, who was from California, great big, he was bigger than me, and he was kind of the golden boy from California. And then I had another one, a guy named Eddie Flood, who was from the Bronx and was a real asshole. First time I met him, I couldn't stand him, but somehow or other, but it was kind of a strange. There were four of us. This Hick Rube from Wisconsin, kid, the guy from Seattle who was street smart, and the golden boy from California, and then this asshole from New York that was and he was a ladies' man. He was always chasing. He was married and had kids, but he was always chasing women. But somehow or other, I don't know. We all got along good together after the confrontation.
How many of your friends didn't come home?
Well, a number of them didn't.
Did that fact make it harder or easier to make friends, knowing that they might not be there the next day?
It's something I never really thought about, to tell you the truth. Another one too was a guy named from Minneapolis. Zabel was his name, Clayton Zabel. He was a platoon. He came in as a replacement, but he was a platoon guide, which is right under the platoon leader. And he survived. He's dead now, but I don't know.
So you weren't really thinking about, as you were friends with these people, that you just couldn't afford to think about stuff like that?
Well, I just didn't.
Oh, okay.
It's not something that you. I don't know. The way it's portrayed in the movies, why you agonize over that. Well, I never did. I mean, I was always sorry when because I had a lot of acquaintances that didn't come back too, and some of them that very badly wounded. One with his legs blown off, who actually replaced your dad. He was platoon leader, and his legs blown off. And 4 or 5 from my squad were killed, who I knew but didn't really know well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
You already mentioned you met my dad, Lieutenant Warren Lewis, in Fort Carson.
Right.
What do you remember most about him from those days?
That he was always my favorite officer. Maybe it was because when we first came in, he was a training. He took over the training. He was in charge of the training of all his ASTP guys, and he was real fair. He didn't look down on you or anything. He was just just very good. And whereas some of the other officers who I didn't know well, one of them in particular, a guy named Jenkins, I didn't like. He was a West Point graduate. I don't think your dad liked him either.
Do you have any recollection of my dad during in combat, either the first or second time?
Yeah. Not the first time, but the second time. Yeah, the second time I was in Cologne, and I mean, we were in houses. He was in a house across the street. My squad was in a different house, and he was in a house across the street, and you couldn't get out of the house because there was a machine gun nest in a building up the way that would fire on you. So your dad called a tank up, and then we had to follow the tank, and he directed the tank to you know, once you knew where the window that the machine gun was firing out of. But they opened up on us, and I was on the other side of the tank. He was on the left side, I was on the right side, and with a couple guys, and there happened to be a pillbox or a bomb shelter there, and it had a stone wall. Well, the minute they opened up, I went over the wall because, you know, to get behind it. It just so happened that the Germans had used that pillbox as a CP2, and the other side of the wall there is where they put their latrine. And I went right into the damn latrine. It had crap all over me. And but that's when your dad got hit. And he always says that he saw that bullet. Did he ever tell you that?
Well, he said he was walking.
It was walking beside the tank, yeah. But he said he saw the bullet that hit him. He's told me that a number of times.
Well, it went in his eye, so I wouldn't
he said
doubt
he saw it coming.
Did you see him after he was injured or not?
No,
You were still in the middle of the retreat.
I didn't even know he was injured. I was trying to clean myself up, and I didn't know he was until we got back. Because then we pulled back, and then because somebody else had gotten ahead of us and cleared where we were supposed to go. So then we kept on going, and it was that's when I heard he was. Only they told me at that time that he'd been hit right in the eye, and I thought his eye had been put out or something.
Can you think of a couple or several simple sentences that describe your lasting memory of the war? Now, I asked my dad this question, and what he said was, it was damn loud all the time. How would you characterize, just very simply, if someone were to ask you, give me 5 or 2 or 3 sentences that describe, you know, a lasting memory?
Truthfully, the first thing that comes to mind is lack of sleep. You know, you're always looking for some place where you can sleep and rest.
That's what you said too.
Yeah, yeah. That's the other thing I remember is that. Well, there's a lot of things, but that somebody was looking out for me. I was luckier than hell. I could have been killed a number of times. I had so many close calls, and just and I don't know why, you know. I know I was completely. I always thought I'd get through it, but I was completely convinced, because after we got home, I'm getting ahead of this, but we had to San Luis Obispo on in California to train for the invasion of Japan, because we were one of the 4 divisions that would have invaded. I think around Tokyo, I would have been one of the spearhead divisions, and I was completely convinced that I'd used up all the luck I had. I'd never come back from there, and because of that. That's why I always say Harry Truman saved my life by dropping that bomb.
You know, the way my dad put it when I asked him that question, he said there was an angel on his shoulder. That's what he said. Even getting shot twice.
That's a real good example. That would describe it, because I know I was lucky, and I kind of knew it at the time too.
During combat with the Germans, did you actually sight individuals with your gun? Did you just shoot where you thought they were? How personal was this? Do you know if you personally killed Germans?
No, I don't.
And that's interesting. My dad said the same thing.
No, I don't.
He said he shot where he thought they were.
Yeah, a lot of times you do it. There was only one time when I opened up on an individual, and I don't even know whether I ever hit him, because I was using the machine gun at the time, and he was quite a ways away, and that was right after we crossed the Ruhr, and but I probably am responsible, if you could do that, because when I was wounded and that captain was killed, it was not the first time that I'd been radioing for artillery. There had been 3 or 4 other times. I think that's why the captain asked me to do it, because I knew a little bit about what I was doing, is calling in artillery, and I'm sure that some of that artillery killed people, but that's hard to tell. As the difference between our artillery and the German artillery is the Germans had the 88s that they could actually zero in like they did that same day. Initially, we dug in on the front of this ridge, and they put a shell right in a hole where one of them was a former, was in my squad, the other one hadn't been, but, and killed both of them, blew them all to hell, and they could zero in. But we had air blasts. It didn't have to hit the ground to go off. It would, I don't know how they'd set it. They'd set it so it'd go off at 10 yards up or something, and then a foxhole didn't really protect you. You were.
That's what we had, or that's what they had?
That's what we had.
Oh, okay.
They may have had it at one time, but they didn't have it when I was in combat.
How much did you think during those 200 days of combat? How much did you think about dying or being wounded, or that you were actually killing Germans?
Did I actually kill any
No.
Germans?
How much were you thinking about? Could you actually even think about the fact you were killing Germans, or was that just part of your job, like you would go to?
Well, it's when you get into combat, you get a whole different mindset. than normal, you know. I think that's how you adjust to combat, because combat is not happy. I mean, it's not pretty, and it's tough. And unless you get it took me a long time to figure this out. That, I've told her that a number of times. You know, because she asked me questions. You just develop a different kind of mindset, and it's like you said, it's a job. You're assigned stuff to do, so you do it, you know, the best you can, and protect yourself as well as you can. But you still have a job to do, and I can't describe the mindset, but and you kind of ignore the danger other than trying to protect yourself. You know, that's just the way it is. And she was talking about one time, I told her, this was right towards the end of the war in a town called Bitterfeld. That was some of the last big fighting that we had. But we were clearing the town and going from door to, you know, house to house, and you know, I'd go in and kick the door open or knock it open, or somebody would, and go in. You wouldn't fire, but you know, you'd be ready to fire. Well, we'd gone for a bunch of blocks, not seen anybody. So I was kind of careless, and so I kicked this one door open and walked in, and there were 5 Germans standing there, German soldiers standing there, all with their arms up, saying, "Comrade, you know, I surrender." And here I had the gun down on my side, you know. If they'd have been ready, I mean, hell, they could have killed me, you know, 7 times over. But all they wanted to do was surrender. But it's, you know, the last time I got that careless.
Did you have any idea what was going on outside of your unit in the bigger war, in terms of, you know, your battalion, or in other theaters of the war, like, you know, the Battle of the Bulge, or even in the Pacific Theater? Did you have any feel for what was going on? It was just pretty much your 12 or 40 guys.
No, yeah, particularly the Battle of the Bulge. You said we were in combat for 200 consecutive days. That's not exactly true. When the battle, we had just taken Merkin. That's on that thing, and the Battle of the Bulge occurred, and they thought that, you know, the people were infiltrating. Germans were infiltrating behind us, and so on. So we paid a lot of attention to that. So we stopped. We didn't go any farther. We didn't, you know. So during that month or so, when the Battle of the Bulge was going on, we were just stationed in Merkin. We were in various houses. You know, we had a CP, and my squad had a house, and it was down at the foot of one of the streets, and you know, to protect in case anything happened. But anyhow, so for 30 days, we were just resting during the Battle of the Bulge. And you paid a lot of attention to that, because you never knew whether, and they had said that they'd sent dressed German soldiers up, like Army, Army, U.S. Army stuff, and to infiltrate back. And that's when they gave you a bunch of questions to ask about who's Babe Ruth and all of this.
So that in the movie really did happen. That stuff you see in the movies.
Yeah, that did.
You ask about
that did happen.
who's Joe DiMaggio and this and that and the other.
Yep, that did happen, and that's when it was during that Battle of the Bulge. And,
Oh, okay. The atrocities of war in the Pacific are pretty well documented about torturing and mutilating and killing prisoners of war. And I know on the Ken Burns special, one of the lines that really struck me was an American soldier said that he came upon some of his comrades who had been abused in this way and then killed. And he said, from that point on, we never took another prisoner of war. Did you ever see anything like that in the European theater?
No, I never did, but when we took Merkin, that was where you go from one town to the next.
Mm-hmm.
So you crossed all this, and that was one of the first times where they used protective artillery. They'd walk the artillery ahead of us while we were going across, and because it was all open fields, and so you had artillery going off 100, 150 yards ahead of you and on the sides too, and they were really good. I mean, we had forward observers with us, and they were radioing back to what they do. So, but our orders were to get in town and take. We had a specific house. My squad had a specific house to take. Only they said, "Don't take any prisoners." Well, geez, that just didn't set with me. So, the house that we were taking. There was a German officer, or German soldier, on watch outside. You always had somebody on guard, or what. And they had, but this guy was half asleep and so on. So we took him prisoner without a shot being fired or anything. Went inside, and he pointed that the rest of them were downstairs in the basement. So we went downstairs, and they were downstairs cooking breakfast, and it was sausage and where they'd gotten some eggs, I don't know, but they had some eggs. Anyhow, so we took them prisoner and locked them in a coal bin and ate their breakfast.
That was torture.
Huh? Well, no, but we didn't, and as far as I know, that only happened, and I'm not sure of this, but I was told that they did shoot one guy they took prisoner. Somebody did, but I don't know. The funny thing is that we turned all these prisoners over to a bunch who was taking the prisoners back. Well, they started taking the prisoners back, and when on the way over with their artillery, these Germans, ducked in their trenches or foxholes or whatever it was, didn't even know we'd gone past. So they started taking Americans prisoner on when they were taking, and they finally all wound up coming back, and got a whole bunch of German prisoners and it was a strange way to have it happen.
Were you ever close to being captured?
Not really. Once on the Mark River, we were in a house right on the water, and the Germans were firing at us. They were trying to put the house on fire with what do they call them?
Like a flamethrower?
No, with
Incendiary bombs?
no bullets.
Oh,
And so, you know, the
Tracer.
tracers. Yeah, Jesus, why can't I think? But it wouldn't take or anything. This building also happened to have an old couple in it, which we put down in a. Didn't really have a basement because you can't dig down that far, you know. But it was a small. We put them down there, and one of the guys suggested that we burn our identification. So, you know, well, Jesus, the Germans were on the other side of the river. So I didn't think we were in any danger of being captured, but finally we decided, and it was surrounded with little small, they wouldn't even be called canals, they were ditches with water in them, you know. And the house was, finally decided to get down in one of these ditches and go and then get back over the dike, you know, because there's a big dike there. And so we got down the ditch and got where you had to go over the dike, and the other guy says, "Well, I'll go first." Well, that sounded good to me because if he you're gonna be shot, you know. So he got out, went up over the dike, fine. He got there, and I thought, well, Jesus, that was really stupid. Now they know that somebody's driving, you know, going that way. Now I'm probably gonna get shot. But I bailed out and went back went right over the dike too. The only thing that disturbed me is there was a dead GI against a tree just as I got to the top of the dike. But then over the dike, why, you were home free, then as far as that goes. No, I never worried about being captured.
was anyone in your unit ever captured?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, at the Mark River crossing. A guy named Potter, he used to come to all the reunions. Ray Potter, he's from Ohio. What's the name of the town? Anyhow, he's from Ohio. He and his wife Ruby and Katie became really good friends. And but Ray his health is deteriorated, and the last couple of times he was showing some Alzheimer's. You know, he asked the same question over and over again, and so on. But he was captured, and he and somebody else were captured during that river crossing.
Did he spend time in a?
Oh yeah, he spent a lot of time. He was wounded too.
In a
And,
what kind of a camp did he go to? Did they have
it was a
prisoner of war camps?
It was a prison camp, a German prison camp, and but he was treated pretty well, I guess. He they had to carry him, and it was 4 women. He always talked about that. 4 women that carried him, not men.
The 2nd Battalion discovered an SS concentration camp in Germany. Did you guys ever come across any concentration camps or death camps, or have any experience with that?
Once, a place called Nordhausen, That wasn't, it was concentration camp, but I think it was a DP camp, a displaced persons camp is what they call it. And, but we were riding trucks at the time. We didn't capture it or anything, but the truck stopped very shortly at Nordhausen, and we just got off to rest, just like a 10-minute break. And the only thing I saw was there was a ditch, big wide ditch, full of bodies. Apparently they just dumped the bodies into the ditch. You've seen these pictures of wheat, yeah, where they're all skin and bones and so on. It was that kind of a camp. But,
So you saw live people too?
well, no, I really didn't see them, see any.
Oh, but you just knew there was a
There were
camp.
there, yeah, there were some. I don't think most of them could get out of their beds or anything.
Good. Good, that takes... Is it still plugged in up here?